You know, we see food delivery drivers every single day. It seems like such a simple job, right? Pick up food, drive it somewhere, drop it off. But what if that completely normal, everyday routine suddenly veers off into a real life horror story? Today, we're going to look at three true stories where the biggest danger wasn't bad traffic, it was what was waiting for them right on the doorstep. So, what do you think it is? I mean, dodging crazy drivers in rush hour? Trying to find some weird address in the pitch black? Or maybe dealing with a customer who's just having a really bad day. Yeah, those are all real risks for sure. But for the drivers in these stories, the dangers were so much worse. And look, these aren't just some spooky tales we cooked up. These are the actual accounts of regular people just trying to do their jobs who suddenly found themselves in situations that would push them to the absolute limit. We're talking about gut instincts, raw courage, and the simple will to make it home safe. All right, so for our first story, let's head to a street that looks like it's straight out of a movie. You know the kind. Perfectly green lawns, kids' bikes on the sidewalk, the last place on earth you'd expect to see a predator just waiting. A pizza driver pulls up, and he sees a mom on her porch, totally lost in a phone call, with no idea what's happening around her. Let's just break down how quickly this whole thing went from 0 to 100. It all starts with a bad feeling. The driver just notices a guy in a black van watching a little girl play. He tries to tell the mom, but she just waves him off. Now, this next part is absolutely crucial, his instinct. He could have just gotten in his car and left, but his gut was screaming that something was about to go horribly wrong, so he waited. And sure enough, moments later, the man snatches the girl. Without even thinking, the driver takes off after him, yelling, throwing a rock, anything to stop him. It worked. The kidnapper dropped the child and ran. When the police got there, they didn't beat around the bush at all. One of the officers looked him right in the eye and told him point blank that his decision to trust his gut and stick around was the only reason that little girl was crying in her mother's arms and not gone for good. And if that wasn't terrifying enough, here's the part that will absolutely give you chills. When the police finally caught the guy, they found evidence in his van. Based on what they found, they realized that this little girl would have been his 8th victim. An absolute tragedy, stopped because one person decided not to just mind their own business. Okay, for our next story, we're taking a late-night delivery out to the edge of town, and, well, this one feels like it was ripped right out of a horror movie. Our driver here is a guy working nights to pay for speech therapy. He has a stammer that gets a lot worse when he's anxious, and that little detail is about to become terrifyingly important. So he gets to this house. A woman opens the door and asks him to come inside, which is a huge red flag. It's totally against company policy. But he does. And the second he steps over the threshold, he's hit by this smell. It's sweet, but also rotten. Just sickly. And it was the first sign that something in this house was deeply, deeply wrong. So he's just standing there, trying not to breathe in whatever that awful smell is, when bam! A bright flash completely blinds him for a second. He looks up, and the woman is standing on the stairs holding an old Polaroid camera. She just giggles and says she loves to take pictures of her visitors. His feeling of unease just ramped up to genuine fear. She comes back down, hands him a really big tip, but as he turns to get the heck out of there, she grabs his wrist. And her grip is just shockingly strong. Her whole vibe changes. That cheerful smile is still on her face, but it's empty now. And what she says to him next is just pure, undiluted nightmare fuel. She starts talking about how her husband used to have a stammer too, kind of laughing and crying at the same time. Then she leans in real close and whispers, "He's downstairs. Would you like to meet him? He's very quiet now." In that split second, the driver just ripped his arm away and ran for his life, seeing her in the doorway, laughing and waving as he sped off into the night. You know, he never called the police. He figured, who'd believe a story that crazy? But 3 days later, he sees a news report that confirms everything. Neighbors had called the cops about a foul smell coming from 847 Maple Street. Police went in and found her husband's body in the basement. He'd been dead for over a month. The report said the delivery driver was the only person who had been inside that house for weeks. Think about that. If he had gone downstairs, he would have never come back up. The horror in our final story doesn't come from some random creepy stranger. Now, this comes from somebody they knew. It started with a workplace argument that seems so insignificant until it spirals out of control and becomes an absolute monster. I mean, just look at the two sides of this. It's insane. On the left, you have the cause, A manager at a pizzeria fires a guy for supposedly stealing 40 bucks. 40, a small workplace dispute. And on the right? The effect, a violent, terrifying home invasion where that same ex-employee decided to get his revenge, not on the manager, but on his innocent family. So let's just walk through the awful mechanics of this attack. First, there's the deception. The fired employee, Dylan, shows up with a pizza to trick them into opening the door. The second the manager's wife, Sarah, opens it, he shoves his way inside and starts attacking her. Hearing his mom screams, their 7-year-old son Liam runs into the room to try and protect her. A 7-year-old. But in his rage, the attacker shoves the little boy, and that's when tragedy strikes. His head smacks against a coffee table, and he just collapses. The attacker took off, and Sarah immediately called 911. Her son was rushed to the hospital with a critical brain injury. For 3 agonizing days, this little boy lay in a coma while his family just sat there praying as the police hunted for the man responsible. And then, finally, he woke up. And his first words, they weren't about the pain he was in. They weren't about him at all. He just looked at his mom and whispered, "Mommy, are you safe now?" Even after everything he'd been through, his first thought was about her. Just an incredible moment of love from a 7-year-old hero. So there you have it. 3 completely different stories, 3 totally different types of fear, but they all started with a simple delivery. It really just shows you how paper thin the line is between a totally normal day and a crisis that can change your life forever. So what are the real lessons here? Well, first and foremost, it's a powerful reminder that our gut instinct is a real primal survival tool. The drivers who listened to that little voice screaming danger were the ones who made it. Second, these stories really shine a light on the danger of just looking away. The first driver didn't mind his own business, and a child is alive today because of it. It proves that sometimes regular people have to be the first responders. And finally, the sheer courage we see here is just astounding. Not from soldiers or police officers, but from a pizza guy and a 7-year-old boy. It's a pretty sobering thought, isn't it? We use these services constantly, without even thinking twice about the person showing up at our home. But these stories, they kind of force us to ask a really simple but very unsettling question. The next time your doorbell rings, who are you really expecting to be on the other side?